thing, y'all, Nakri's in banner, right? So if any time was a good time to pick her up, now is a good time. But the question is she really that good? It's a little bit debatable amongst players that have her, whether she's good or not. One of the number one units for Isgard, or Isard, however you say it. She's the number one unit for trivia. She's the number one DPS for doing underground refinery floor 50. She is one of the units in rotation of raid boss, so she does a lot of damage to raid boss. Now is as good a time as any to get her, since she's in the event draw, and if you pull her from the event draw, it'll also net you her legendary exclusive equipment. So without wasting any more time, let's jump into her contract. Alright, skill 1, Winding Ivy inflicts damage to the enemy by 70% of the attack, and the nearby alien plant inflicts damage to the selected enemy by 30% of the attack. Whenever you promote this skill under SSR, it poisons the enemy with up to a 100% chance for 4 turns when you attack with the alien plant. So that's really good. Poison is a very valuable debuff on all bosses because no bosses have immunity or a cleanse at this point, so being able to do that with her alien plants is very nice. Unlike in Summoner's War, where poison is continuous damage, and continuous damage in Summoner's War does 5% of the boss's total HP, in this game is going to be relative to the caster's attack. So you will want to build up her attack a little bit higher, especially since she is a ranger. She does a lot of damage innately, but if you want to get the most out of her poison, that's a good way to do it. Earthroot inflicts damage to the enemies by 78% of the attack and summons an alien plant that inherited 20% of Nakri's total HP for 3 turns. Whenever you skill this up, it will increase the skill's distance. So 20% of her total HP isn't really a lot. People can take these out fairly easily. The plants also take up space on the map, so you will have to move around them. Alien Plant Seed inflicts damage to the enemies by 50% of the attack, summons 3 alien plants that inherited 20% of Nakri's total HP for 3 turns, and pushes them to the left and right. Whenever you promote this, it makes the enemy immovable for 2 turns with up to a 100% chance. So this is pretty much her best skill. She summons the 3 plants. The plants are there. They're able to poison the enemy. They also take up space. So if you have dealers on your team, they will end up having to move around the alien plant. Or if you are in PvP, the enemies will actually have to end up moving around the plants to get to you, which can be a good and a bad thing depending on how you used it. For bosses, the plants, even though they do poison the boss and they attack the boss, that adds up to a lot of damage. Again, if you have dealers and the plants are blocking the dealers, then that can possibly be a con, which is why she's sometimes debated. And last is her rage skill, Moving Garden. Inflicts damage to the enemies nearby the alien plant by 47% of the attack 3 times, unable to use the skill if there are no alien plants. Whenever you promote it, it decreases the attack of the enemy for 2 turns with up to a 70% chance. So you need a little bit of accuracy to get that up to 100, but at the same time, decreasing attack is one of the most important debuffs you can put on the bosses. The bosses in this game have a ridiculously high attack, so being able to decrease that attack, very, very valuable. Whenever you get her SSR card, it increases the alien plant's penetration rate by 20% when it attacks enemies, so they'll still be relatively effective on bosses with extremely high defense. Her exclusive equipment summons 1 more alien plant when using Earthroot. Earthroot being her second skill, so instead of just summoning 1 plant, it'll summon 2, so you'll be able to get a total of 5 from the 3rd skill and the 2nd skill. It's also very much worth pointing out that she has attack speed in her abilities, so you can increase her attack speed innately, and that goes towards her base speed. You can also increase her accuracy if you're having trouble getting that attack breakdown with her rage skill. Okay, now we're going to be looking at some of the reviews. An absolute monster in PvE, but only alright in PvP due to over-reliance on summons. Overall still an A+. See, that's what I get most of the time, is people saying that the plants, not only do you have to put them out for her to actually be effective in the arena, but the plants can mess you up just as much as they can help you. One of the top PvE characters, she's not slow at all. Top tier unit for PvE, not so good for arena. Destroys bosses multiple levels above her, top tier PvE. So pretty much everybody is saying that yes, she's the absolute best boss killer in the game. She pretty much is a kit solely designed for doing an insane amount of damage to enemies with an insane amount of HP. We went ahead and pulled her up in the battle simulator now, so we can see some of her moves in real time. This is going to be her at base right whenever you get her level 1. Skill 1 is just, sort of a decent range single target. Second skill is an area of effect, but it does only spawn 1 plant whenever she's at base. And third skill will attack in a line, moving the enemies to the left and right and putting plants in the paths. Now let's just go ahead and put out our maximum number of plants whenever we use this rage skill, because the plants actually help increase the damage of the rage skill. They all swing wildly. Since there's 4 plants, that's a lot of damage. It put out a lot of damage, but this isn't the Nakri that we want to build, especially since it's her banner. It's going to be completely attainable to get her all of her equipment completely maxed, and we'll look at her whenever she's promoted under SSR to full and has her legendary exclusive equipment. For this first skill, whenever you promote it, we're actually going to have to use this second skill first so that you can see what it does. Whenever you use the first skill and you have plants available, the plants will poison the enemy if you see the plants are attacking them as well. So whenever she attacks, the plant attacks to poison them too. Now the second skill we just saw, whenever you promote it, and especially whenever you have her exclusive equipment, it just puts out more plants, and then that allows you to get out more poison overall. Third skill, while it still does move the enemy and does push them to the left and right, it will also put a movable on them. So now you're able to hide Nakri behind this little plant, and they have absolutely no way to get to you. They're just going to be forced to sit there and attack a plant. Now go ahead and take a look at this first skill, as this guy is completely surrounded by plants. That is completely nuts. Very good for pairing with Kairos, because Kairos's rage skill, it actually consumes all of the poison counts on the enemy and does their full damage. Rage skill, so let's put out as many plants as possible and then use the rage skill that will just swing wildly. That will pretty much destroy anything in its path. A pretty long setup for arena, but completely attainable, and also very easy to set up in PvE, especially with being able to put attack break on enemies. If you see that whenever they swing around, that little sword means that the enemies are going to be doing less damage overall now. So for recommended rage cards, there are some that stick out. She's very good for pretty much almost every rage card can be used on her, but there's some that just stand out better on her that aren't really usable on other units, so it's worth mentioning those first. First of all, Poison Max Substance. Rage card increases damage by 20% when you attack a poisoned enemy. We just saw she puts down mad poison, so that's also going to be very good for her to use as well. The Resistance Booster rage card is going to be good for her because as long as she is not defense broken, she innately just gets to have an increased effect accuracy of 20%. All in all, that's a very good, stat for her to have, for her to be landing poisons and to be landing the attack break on her rage skill without actually having to worry about putting too much effect accuracy into her equipment and build. You can get a little bit of that out of the way with this rage card. And the number one card I would recommend for her is going to be the Urgent Shield rage card. It gains a protection effect for 3 turns by 20% of the total HP with a limit of 1 times when you're inflicted with damage that takes you to death. What this means is whenever she gets killed with an attack that would kill her, instead of dying, she just basically stays alive with a shield of up to 20% of her total HP. And of course, whenever she dies, her plants go away too. So if you lose your Nakri, not only do you lose her, but you lose your summons. So being able to, survive an extra turn or two, or even at that point, your supporter can bring her all the way back up to full, and she's completely in the fight again. Not losing your plants, not losing your ability to poison, and not losing your Nakri is pretty much the number one thing that you could do for your team. And yeah, that's pretty much a brief summary of Nakri. Hopefully, if there's some new players, I've seen new players having trouble deciding on who they want to get. Nakri is a very good unit, so if you were wondering if maybe you should get her or not because of this banner, maybe that'll help alleviate some of your concerns and questions. But other than that, that's going to do it for me, y'all. I'll see y'all later. Bye.